All right, we got a big one here, folks. Team Troy Lee Designs, Red Bull GasGas USA, Jorge Prado's machine. We got Kyle Defoe, he is the wrench. He's been around a minute, so he's gonna break this thing down for us. I have a few questions to ask Kyle, but we're not gonna do this. Let's start from front to back. Just give us an overview. Obviously there's stuff that we can't talk about. We're talking about a factory machine here, people. So if you guys are gonna put down in the comments, Keefer, why didn't you ask him this? Look I know what I can and can't ask. Like, he's gonna tell me only so much things. So like, let's start with the engine. Jorge, obviously MXGP rider, very smooth rider. When we talk about European riders, most of them, besides Hurlings that I think of, are pretty smooth guys. Yeah. So does he like a smooth car? Does he like a lot of low end? Or tell us about this engine.
Yeah, no, Jorge definitely prefers a very smooth power. He rides this bike at the lower side of the RPM out of anybody in the 450 class. So
let me ask this. So you guys have, obviously you could see all of his RPM data, yeah, right? And when you look at it, is it way different than Justin's?
Yeah, two polar opposite riders, right? Yeah. Like even the noise level of when Jorge rides by or Justin rides by, like you would think Jorge's putting around the track. But yeah, no, Jorge, engine, exhaust, everything, mapping is the mellowest of mellow we can possibly make it. He's just so smooth and carries momentum everywhere that at this point in his Supercross career, he doesn't need that. Okay. I imagine in the future, if he chose to ride Supercross longer, he would work his way up to it. But right now, same as MXGP, he just carries momentum so well. His engine, exhaust, everything is very minimal.
Going from obviously motocross to Supercross, has he said from his MXGP engine to this SX engine, is there a big difference for him?
I've never particularly asked him that. He does compare Supercross and motocross as two completely different disciplines.
Okay.
So he's really come into the Supercross program with an absolutely open mind of the bike and the chassis, because obviously they have a much different bike there. But engine-wise, I would say they're probably quite similar.
Moving on the chassis side of things, obviously going from MXGP where you guys can run anything or they can run anything, and now we're on a production rule here in America. I'm gonna start by saying this. I know we only could talk about it so much, but the steel frame guys is what I like to call them. They have an option, right? The new factory edition is out. GasGas has one, Husqvarna has one, KTM has one. You guys gave your riders a choice, and we are currently on the 24 frame and not the factory edition frame. So he chose this.
Yeah, each rider was given an option to choose the factory edition frame or this frame. They tested it, and really it was about 50-50 with rider preference. Completely different riding styles made up different choices too. Jorge, super mellow, he chose this frame. But yeah, he just, that was just his preference of riding style, and if he was to build up to it more, he may choose the other frame with more testing and R&D.
So what is kind of cool about the steel frame group, they give them options, right? You have a new bike coming in for 24.5, and this leads to my next question. So maybe, in my theory, and you can tell me if I'm wrong and ask the people out there, they're gonna ask me this question, does he like a softer suspension feel coming from GPs as compared to other riders within your team?
Yeah, I think Jorge definitely prefers a softer suspension feel. Also, not knowing much about Supercross, we gave him a starting package that we thought was good for him to kind of transition from motocross to Supercross. And he's developed with the suspension over the past 3 or 4 months. So yeah, we started softer with a suspension, and we've been slowly working our way up together. Yep. And it's really meshed and worked quite well with how we thought that he was going to take in the Supercross setting.
So let me ask you this, once he's on his base spec, so to speak, how long does it take you guys to change the spec? Is it every 2 weeks? Is it how often have you guys changed it?
It really depends on the rider. With Jorge, he likes to take his time and be sure of his decisions. So, you know, he rode for about a month on the base setting before we really decided to move further and progress, where he told us that he felt that he needed some more hold up and more stiff suspension. So Jorge is so smart, even though this is Supercross and he has no experience with it. he knows what he's trying to feel right now. Okay. So yeah, I would say about a month until we move to stiffer settings and different settings.
Yeah, so I kind of got this information secondhand, but when these guys are on the stiffer 24 frame, some of them are running softer settings in the suspension to kind of compensate. I think when you have a stiffer nature frame, maybe you need some more compliance with the suspension, so maybe that's one of the reasons why he's doing that. But it's kind of unique, I think, about the MXGP guys and how they set up their bikes. And maybe it's just me, but now that you've worked with one of them, they seem like they're more in tune with what they want versus some of the guys we have here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They, like I said, Jorge is the only MXGP guy I've ever worked with, and he has so much time and experience on the chassis and the bike and everything. He knows exactly what he's looking for when he asks for it.
All right, a couple questions here, and we'll wrap this up and give you guys a whole walk around of this thing. But what is Jorge most picky about on his machine? Obviously, you work on this thing every single day. I know that some guys come in here and say, oh, I'm going to change my handlebars. You guys put new handlebars on. They have to mess with them a little bit. But what is he picky with?
Jorge is very, I wouldn't say picky, but he is very sensitive to his clutch. The feeling of transfer of power between the lever and the engine. We have very specific measurements for Jorge with the hydraulic system and with the clutch inside of the engine. So Jorge is very particular with his clutch feel, especially for the start. It's mainly all set up for the start for Jorge.
Looks like and feels like a stock lever, but just with some coating on it.
Yeah, Jorge's levers, they did a really cool anodized lever with a Jorge Prado logo in the front. Just a cool little Jorge part.
So hydraulic system and clutch is completely different. Obviously you guys probably worked a lot with that. Is it what setup is the clutch? Is he on just like an aftermarket clutch, or is it something that you guys build in-house?
Yeah, no, Jorge is on a Hinson clutch inside there that Hinson is tailored to him and the needs that we all need. So yeah, full Hinson clutch in the engine, and then we have a kite slave cylinder down in the bottom, and then a standard system leaded up to the lever with a little bit different ratios and seals to make the feeling smooth, and it needs to be bled absolutely perfect, so that's what he's also very particular about.
Is there a trick for you guys out there, they're going to ask me this, to bleeding the hydraulic clutch? Do you have anything specific that you do?
Really, I just take my time.
Yeah.
You know, if you turn the bar certain directions, you can get more air. You can push on your slave cylinder on the bottom to back bleed oil or fluid up. But really, yeah, you just need to take your time and be sure that all the air is out.
And you guys are currently on a 48mm fork?
Yes, sir.
So 52 kind of gone away a little bit?
Yeah, currently, right now, we've kind of just leaned this direction right now. Yeah.
I think gearing ratios, is he on pretty much, he complain about gearing? You guys change much of that?
Nope, like I said, Jorge hasn't been very picky. We gave him a package that we thought was good, and he's pretty much ran with it. We've tried a little bit here and there in different directions, but we kind of always go back to the gear ratio and setup that we were on when we gave him.
Okay, one more thing. So measurements are huge in the world of factory racing.
Absolutely.
You guys have a whole book of measurements everywhere. And you guys watching this in the production world, you don't do that. You adjust your chain, okay, 2-3 fingers, you're out the door, you set your sag 104, out the door. You guys have a number from the center line swing arm pivot to your axle. You guys have a number. There's a variance that this is where we're at.
Yes.
Okay, and then when you're in that variance, that is the window for most of these guys here. Is someone on a little bit of a different ratio from that?
No, that window is pretty standard for the guys on GasGas team because we find that it makes the shock and the swing arm angle and everything work the best with that. So yeah, no, everyone on the GasGas team has got a very similar axle separation number that we are on.
And I'm going to ask him a question that he's not going to answer. You guys ready? Do we know what that number is?
Yes, we do.
That's what we're going to get. That's all we're going to get. So I asked, and this is what we get. So anything else that you want to add to there? It seems like it doesn't really have ribs on a seat. It's just more of a gripper cover. And
yeah, no, Jorge, he prefers a smooth seat. The last 2 rounds we've been in mud, so we did go to a bit of a gripper seat for that. Also, Jorge has a really cool seat from Sella DeVille underneath, and the front from about here to here is shaved down just slightly, and when you sit on the bike, it gives the chassis a really nice feel in the cockpit. So it gives, yeah, just a little shave down there in the front of the seat. Also, he runs this Renthal half waffle grip that we've cut a few of the waffles out, just left some on the outside, and it gives a really nice feeling in the palm of your hand. Helps you with arm position and hand position. That's kind of a really cool thing that Jorge does that feels nice.
Yeah, it's kind of neat because I do that. I usually have a full waffle and then I'll trim 4 bars off of my top.
Yep.
So people are wondering, why don't you just run a half waffle, Keefer? Well, that feels a little bit different than your normal traditional half waffle.
Yeah.
So these guys really want a custom fit, custom feel. Throttle, really nice feeling. What tubes are you guys using?
This Jorge is honestly, he's just on a Domino throttle tube, stock plastic tube. He has a little bit of a different ratio that he puts in there. But besides that, that's almost all production right there.
Obviously, it's production, not production, but standard factory edition clamps?
Yes.
Offset same, or are we different offset?
I'm honestly not sure what production offset is.
Yep.
So.
Okay, let me ask you, I'm gonna word this question differently. Are we on a 22 millimeter offset, yes or no? There you go. All right, so we're gonna wrap this up. That should tell you something right there. I appreciate your time, Kyle. Very beautiful machine, and I like to wrap these things up really quick with, how did you get involved in wrenching? I'm sure you rode, a little bit, and now you're at the elite level, and some of these guys watch it, want to be a mechanic. How did you end up here?
Absolutely. No, the best way to end up here, I rode for my entire life, since I was probably about 6 years old from the Midwest. We did it as a family. So when it became time to get an actual job, I didn't know how to do anything else. My family farmed, or we did this, and I thought this was way cooler. So, I networked myself as privateer level riders, and I came to work every day. I looked professional. I did my job. I worked hard. I kept my head down.
You shut your mouth?
I shut my mouth because nobody likes egos in this sport.
Yes, sir.
It's a small village of people. You get to know everybody, and you just slowly market yourself and work your way up.
And you guys listening out there, you never know who's going to be your boss one day in this sport. You guys on the outside looking in thinking,
Absolutely.
Oh, it's a huge sport. It really isn't. You see the same faces day in and day out. So like you said, keep your head down, do a good job, be professional, and here Kyle is. It's pretty cool. And some of you guys wondering how that happens, that's how it happens right there. So Kyle, thanks for the time.
Absolutely,
and,
thank you.
Right now we're going to take you around little Jorge Prado GasGas.